Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with Traders Summit, and with me today, not only do I have Mr. Dick Mathews from GC Partners, but I also have one of my colleagues from not only Traders Summit, but also Forex Analytics, Stelios Kontogoulas. Good to see you guys.
It's very nice to be here, and you said my name right, so well done.
Well, I'm trying to bring out the Greek wife in me. Is that even a thing? Anyway, yeah. Hey, I want to, I'm sure people are probably wondering, well, why is Stelios here with Blake and Dick talking about Dick's past? But the fact of the matter is your lives and people that you know have crossed paths around this time. And I don't want to take too much away from that, but that's why Stelios is here today. And I'm always super happy to be able to talk with Stelios, even though I talk to you so much during the day anyway, and during the week. But before we do that, Dick, I want to go to you really quick. After LCF, you moved to PreBonds, and what was that part of your career like, and what happened there?
It was a pretty brief part of my career. I went to PreBonds. I was kept out of the market for 6 months on gardening leave before I could start there, and I started back as a money broker because I wasn't allowed on the futures floor, and it all just became a real mess. And literally, we just got going on the futures floor, and PreBonds went bust. It's pretty simply, they had £1 million bill reputedly that they couldn't pay, which was the British Telecom. And as a money broker, you need to pay your telephone bills. And they literally went under on a Friday night and resurfaced on the Monday under a new name. And part of the deal was that they had to sell the futures business. So they came to my partner, myself, and literally we had like 3 days to put together the finance to buy, I think it was 17 seats at the time, from them and get going again and get all the authority signed off. We had two guys we spoke to, one of which was Refco, Richard Reiner, who's still a very dear friend of mine, financed the deal. Bought the seats. They were short of seats. Bought the seats. Their floor operation was pretty poor. We started running the floor, and the rest is, as they say, history.
So that's so the PreBonds, even though it was a very short period of your career, it allowed you to really, I use this term, jump in bed, if you will, with Refco, right after that. And that's where I think some of your connections have really crossed over. So tell me a little bit about Refco, and Stelios is going to be jumping in here, I'm sure, about, some of the people that you know. So what happened at Refco?
The move happened just as the markets were really starting to accelerate and get busy. I think it must have been, 90 or 91, around about then. And the markets were starting to take off. And I, traditionally, having been a sterling money broker, I used to take the sterling desk, and the sterling desk at PreBonds was probably the most important desk that they had. And Barclays Merchant Bank, BZW, were my two biggest clients at the time, historically going back. There's a guy called Pete Spence, John Luck, Humphrey Percy at BZW, who you may or may not know. And they were really big clients of ours, and probably our biggest clients. And before we went to Refco, we went to them and said, will you support us? And they very kindly did, and they stuck to their word. I had a couple of really good kids working there on the sterling desk. Goggs, whose name I can't remember, and if he listens to this, he'll kill me. I just remember him as Goggs, and he was a lovely kid. And that's dreadful, I can't remember his name. And Dave Stoller, who was known as a Ginger Tom. He's like gingery hair, looked like the Ronald McDonald clown from afar, but a lovely guy. And because we have very close links still with PreBonds, we're a big sterling money broker, we would interact. So we would know what swaps and FRAs were doing, and so we could price our back months out pretty well. And Harry, as I mentioned, was a great client of ours, and Barclays always supported, were always fair to us, and used us to, well, I don't know, you tell us, Stelios, why you used Refco.
So here's the link to us now. So Harry, that Dick mentioned, was the guy who hired me at Barclays, and he was my mentor.
Wow.
And he was the head of the swaps, initially sterling swaps, and then the whole of sterling desk. And really nice guy, very smart trader. And when I first started, I sat next to him. And one of the first brokers I actually spoke to was David Stoller that Dick just mentioned, and he became probably my favorite broker, and very, very smart guy. And also he gave something extra that a lot of other brokers did, but he, when markets moved, and he gave me sentiment, like when things moved, and he would come down the line and say, Stelios, pick up, and I would say, what is it? And he'd go, well, there's a lot of moaning about this rally in short sterling. People are really moaning. So I know what to do, right? I just go in and buy everything. So,
well, no wonder he was your favorite.
but he was, really nice guy. And it just, everything tangles really nicely, right? With Harry and with David. And also you mentioned Pete Spence. He was the head of Sterling Cash, the main Sterling Cash trader. And I don't know if you know him, actually. We've been talking about so many times what's one of the main traits that you have to be a good trader. And people say you have to have good psychology. Pete Spence's boss, John Porter, I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
He was the head of pretty much everything on the cash side and more. He used to have, I think he had a psychology degree or something like that. And he switched jobs in the middle or something. So another really, really smart guy. I mean, these guys would come to the market. They would come, we were the market makers. We're supposed to have big positions. And then they would come to us and say, oh, can you execute this trade for us? And it was bloody huge, something that it took you days to execute. But anyway, a collection of very smart people, that's for sure.
Dick's it's been great, over the last, I want to say we're almost 2 months in to doing these Tales from the Trading Desk interviews, and he's got nicknames for everybody. I think he's got a nickname for everybody, or at least everybody had a nickname. How about you, Stelios? Did any of those guys have nicknames?
I did. Harry and Nat. Did you catch Nat Tice? No, you probably wouldn't. He was after Harry. They gave me a nickname, Easy Fra, because I traded the Fra book when I started the forward rate agreements, and there was the Stelios, the EasyJet guy, obviously. Yeah. So I was Easy Fra. They even made a nice image based on EasyJet, and they put it on my screens as a background. That was nice. It was nice, actually.
That's funny.
Stelios, can I ask you a question? How did you find the difference between a futures broker and a money broker? Because obviously I knew the money brokers at PreBonds and other shops. And they were very different breeds of futures brokers, and it's hard to pinpoint why.
Well, futures brokers and swaps brokers that I had were very different because the futures that I traded were traded electronically. The swaps was all over the counter. So there was a lot of negotiation and kind of the soft aspect of it on the swaps. And with futures, you could see straight away the price, you could see everything. Obviously, if you wanted to do something bigger, you would have to discuss. But swaps was very there was a lot of details and parameters and this and that. So it was I don't know what's the most difficult job of the two. I think they're quite different, but it was different, definitely different. Yeah.
So go ahead, Dick.
No, I was going to say, I having done both of them, I certainly preferred swaps from sitting down all day long, but actually I preferred futures because of the immediacy. And
yes,
you had the prices. Okay, I can work that for you. I can do that a little bit better.
Yes,
a few parameters here and there, and actually almost acting as a principal often for the bank. Yeah. Probably I shouldn't be saying that, but people would come onto us and say, we want to sell, the back month strip of reds, and you've got a couple of ticks parameter to do it, and you could improve a bit and lose a bit. And actually that's what I enjoyed, that you were allowed to think for yourselves in a way.
Yeah. And the other thing you have to remember is for swaps, the swap curve is constructed using certain points, and there's different types of interpolations and this and that. And you get a price on something and you say, 18 months, I pay 6.5. And the guy will say, what the hell are you talking about? Middle is 7. There was a lot of disagreement about price, but futures is there, you can see it, it's immediate. So that's one of the big differences, but yeah.
And did you find using something like Refco, and I'm sure that you used GNI and other brokers, I know that Barclays certainly did, was that to confuse the market or disguise the market to what Barclays was really doing, as opposed to using your own floor team, or because we were better, or we bought better lunches or told better stories?
Easy answer, you were better. Or David that I used was better by a mile. and not only in execution, but also in the whole, how do you say, the relationship. You know, he would be, you know, I would help him out, he would help me out. You know, there were times, you know how things are. He would come to me and goes, oh my God, you know, I have this problem with this order. I've filled there and I don't have it. I would help him, and then, you know, when I had something that I needed, he would do his best. So it basically, you were better. End of story.
And do you know something? I'm going to be really indiscreet here, and you may have to cut this out. But I remember the day the market changed, that I filled an order for Barclays, and it was, you know, it was a big order, 5,000 lot was a big order in those days, and it was buy up to 98, and I bought some at 95, some at 96, some at 97. And the guy just said, oh, the 3 lots that you bought at 95, just cross those up and have the ticks yourself, keep the profit to yourself. And the next thing I knew, I had the market supervision department down on me, and I had Barclays compliance down on me, accusing me of stealing from the bank. And I've got a taped line of the bank saying to me, do this. Right. And obviously the guy who did it, who I still know to this day, got in trouble as well. And that's when the market changed, because all of a sudden you couldn't help anyone out because you were so scared of, you know, the old ways. You would help a broker and a broker would help you out. And at the end of the year, it made for a better market, in my opinion. And then all of a sudden that just stopped. And that was, to me, the turning point. And that must have been 95, 96, before you were in.
That was before me, yeah.
And it was starting to change.
And you know, the whole reason, Stelios, as you've been listening to these and what we've been trying to point out, and really what Dick has been trying to point out through this, is how the market's changed so much, and how relationships have changed between, you know, the brokers, the clients, the brokers between themselves. It's really has changed and taken a turn for the worse, if you will. Right? Probably,
yeah. Regulation, and you know, people are. I don't want to say, oh, they're scrutinizing everything because something was done that was wrong. No, but they're scared of everything now. That's the problem. And you know, talking about changes, there was when was it, 2008 or something like that, 2009, when we got these algos starting to come into short sterling. I don't know if you remember it. It was I think they were out of, what was it, Poland, some kind of Eastern European country they were based in. And short sterling, you know, the futures, they had X amount of liquidity. They were nowhere near to euro dollars. And suddenly you would see volumes, you know, bid, offer, you know, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 contracts, which never used to be like that. It used to be 100, 200. And it was all these algos, and they were coming in and putting in orders. And if you wanted to actually trade, they all disappeared. You know, they played these games, and the market just changed completely from that point onwards. And it was a lot harder to trade because you didn't know if the thing you're looking at, if you click the button to actually, you know, lift 2,000 reds or whatever it is, you know, 2,000 this future, if they're going to be there or not. Before, you knew they were going to be there, and afterwards you didn't. So algo is starting to mess things up from back then, and now it's become, you know, pretty much in every market, right? It's they dominate volume.
I can remember from having to sign Dave Stoller's expenses that he used to like a lunch and a dinner. Were you a beneficiary of these? I know you used to enjoy the good brosh on occasions.
I am one of those people who very rarely ask for something. I just wanted to see David in particular. I want to see him, so we went out for a burger, you know, stuff like that. But obviously, once in a while, you go to a nice restaurant, you do this. But there were so many traders I knew who were like, they would do a big trade, and they'll go down the line. Okay, so where are you taking me next week? I want to go to Monaco. I want to do this and that, and you know, big things. And I got offered a lot of things. I declined pretty much everything. I just wanted a nice restaurant or maybe a football match to watch, you know, Arsenal or whatever. That was it.
But it was great because you could get to know David, and you could understand how his brain worked and what he would do. And, you know, from a broker's point of view, I could get to know the banker and my client, and I'd have a relationship with him, so I could understand him and understand what he wanted. And now I understand you can't even take a bank out to lunch.
Yeah, I'm hearing it's very difficult now to do anything, but it was very nice back then because, like you say, it's beneficial for both sides. You know, you get to know each other, and you understand how each other works. So it's, you know, it's win-win.
So, you know, Dick, just explain to us really quick, those of us that are, you know, living outside of this all and listening to your story. So what was life like on the trading floor when you were with Refco or starting to do business with Refco?
It was tough. The long days. I mean, you're in 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. I know some of my old colleagues will be listening to this and say, I never worked on a Monday or you never worked on a Friday afternoon. They banned me from working Friday afternoon, so that's my favorite day for sacking people. So then I said, I used to use that as an excuse not to go into the office. Dreadful thing to admit. It was tough. It was hard work, long days, physically very tough because you're standing up all day long. Your voice, as you can hear from my voice, is still not recovered from it. But there was not one day that I didn't have fun, that I didn't have a really good laugh. And I am still friends with so many of the people I worked with. And we're all doing different things now, but we're still friends. And it built an amazing relationship. And we had good days and we had bad days. I mean, I can remember one day in particular that we had an out trade and someone claims he misread one of my hand signals and he sold the market instead of buying it. And the next thing we knew, we had a $400,000 out trade.
Wow.
And which was big number. And my partner and myself were wearing it. And we only knew by his face because he kept trading, kept trying to get out of it and trying to get out of it. And you probably know, you remember Dippy because he used to fill on paper on sterling. So you probably heard
Dippy. I've heard the name. Yeah, I've heard the name.
Dippy. He wanted to buy the dips, not that he was silly. And in the end, we cut it and we ran it and we got the market pretty much back on side. We took a bit of a loss. We took the market back on side. And we took this guy out of the dealing room or off the trading floor. And he's got to be 6'2". He's a big guy, big, strapping guy. And said, listen, we've got to sack you. We can't just allow this to go on. We've got to sack you. And you can see he's got like tears welling up in his eyes. He said, oh no, can I still come to the Christmas party though?
Oh man.
I'm holding my business partner back and laying him out. He's lost all this money. And all this guy wants to do is just come and have fun with us and come to the Christmas party.
Oh my God.
And we're still friends. He contacted me in the last week or so to help on something I'm doing with the charity. And guys I work with at PreBonds are still, friends. A guy run the charity with Kevin Davis was at PreBonds and we worked together there. So we built incredible relationships because it was tough.
Yeah, that's those. Go ahead.
You do meet a lot of different people. I mean, I've told Dick this before. A lot of people I didn't like, and I thought that they were not nice people in this industry. But some people were really amazing. And to also give you a perspective of what it's like on the trader side, we had these dealer boards which had literally 15 to 20 lines to brokers, and they would all shout, not all at once, but they can all shout at once. So you had like people shouting at you, phones ringing, internal microphone, internal speakers. It was just mayhem. So one quality of a good broker was to actually manage to get yourself heard within the noise without being loud. I don't know how some people did it, but some people like Dave Stoller, very clear, very articulated, and to the point. So it was an incredible atmosphere. I mean, the first time I stepped onto the floor, I thought, oh my God, I have to go. I'm not staying here. But after a while, you get used to it. You get used to the noise. You filter out everything else apart from the stuff that really you need to know. And this thing that people call the broker's ear, right? You have to filter, you have to select what you want to hear. And after a while, it becomes second nature and you don't even realize that you're doing it. But it's amazing.
You have to do that with kids and wife sometimes too, right?
And dogs,
The worst is my wife says to me that, you're not listening to me, you're listening to the table behind us. And I can, I'll sit in a restaurant and I'll be listening to the conversations around me because that's what we all did.
Exactly.
You're not listening to me, you're listening to what that guy's saying over there. And, he's talking about football or something and you can know. And it is that broker's ear that you're constantly trying to pick up what's going on around you. You become almost obsessional with it. It's a very good experience.
That's an amazing skill that is only acquired on a trading floor, I think. So, Stelios, I want to say it's been great having you here. This isn't going to be the last time. We're going to have you here, I think, on the next episode as well. But before I wrap this up, as Dick, as you were as you partnered up with Refco, you eventually tell us about what eventually ended up happening. Did you eventually sell?
Yeah, eventually Refco financed us. We took over the floor operation. The market expanded massively. And one day I was standing on the floor later on in the afternoon, like 6 o'clock, and the phone rang, and it was Tom Dittmer, who ran Refco in Chicago, and said, "What do you want to sell? What do you want to sell? How much do you want to sell your business?"
Nice.
And I named a number off the top of my head. He said, "Yeah, that's done."
Wow.
And what happened to Refco subsequently? They stood by their word, and they did the deal.
That's amazing. Well,
awesome.
we're gonna end on that amazing note. That's so cool. And Stelios, I want to thank you for joining us. We've been having a ball. Yeah, we've been having a ball here, just Dick and I. But to have you here too has been really wonderful. And Dick, I want to say thank you for sharing these wonderful stories with the Traders Summit community. I know you have people that are diligently listening to each and every episode. So, and coming back to you with their own comments. So thanks again for joining us today.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, guys, gentlemen, we'll see you next week. And for those of you that are listening in on the Traders Summit site, Dick, he provides all these great stories, but he also does a lot of analysis on the markets. You should check out his column on Traders Summit. You can click the link below to find more about Mr. Dick Mathews, and then also get in touch with him. Thanks, guys, for joining us today. It's been fun.
Thank you, Dick. Thank you, Blake.
Cheers now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.